Welcome to another special edition of Diaspora Weekly with a spotlight on second generation Ghanaians around the globe. Today, I'm joined by Christelle Asamoah, who's speaking to us from Brussels, Belgium. Is that correct? And what's the name of your town again? What's the name of your town?
Ghent.
Ghent, okay. Is that a suburb of Brussels, right?
No, it's actually a whole different city altogether.
And we have Eugene Baffle from Winnipeg in Canada. What's the name of your province?
The province in Canada is called Manitoba. Yeah, so we are here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Winnipeg, Manitoba in Canada. Welcome. Welcome to Diaspora Weekly.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to both of you. Okay. The spotlight is on the second generation. And the first is, well, both of you born where you are right now, or you were born in Ghana? Christelle?
Yes, no, I was born in Ghana, but I came to Belgium at the age of 1. So I was born in Ghana.
Okay, so you were more or less born in Belgium, because I saw you.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
You could say so. Yeah.
Any trips to Ghana?
Yes, I come to Ghana almost twice every year. Because at the age of 14, my mom relocated. Yeah, at the age of 14, my mom relocated back to Ghana for business. So I have to come and see her every 2 years, twice a year. So I try to come, twice a year. And I love Ghana, so.
Okay. And Eugene, if you're like me, I'm jealous already. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Eugene? Because they're close. They fly once, 6 hours. They're in Ghana. That's why she can come twice a year. We on the other side of the Atlantic, we have to fly twice, sometimes 3 times to get here. Were you born in Manitoba or you were born in Ghana?
I was actually born in Montreal, which is another province in Canada called Quebec. So actually born in Canada.
Okay. Ok, parlez-vous français?
Oui, chaque journée.
Wait, if I ask you parlez-vous français and all you can say is oui, I'm starting to question it a little bit. Why don't you roll out some French for me? Impress me, come on.
Ok, parfait. Si tu veux qu'on fait toute l'interview en français, on peut faire ça, pas de problème. Je peux produire quelques pardons.
Okay.
We can do this all day.
Okay, what about you, Crystal? You speak Syrian? I'm sure you do. Impress me.
No, very poorly. I try to speak French, but then I'm not good at it. I speak Flemish. I live in the Flemish part of Belgium, so my French is really not that
Flemish?
excellent.
I haven't heard that before.
A Flemish sound.
Flemish, what's that?
Yes, it's actually Dutch. So the language that the people in Holland, but then it's kind of like a dialect, so we call it Flemish.
Okay, so Eugene just showed off with his French. Why don't you show Flemish? Let's see, like, what did you have for lunch today?
Oké, dus vandaag heb ik ontbeten en ik heb brood gegeten. Ik heb ook emoetso gegeten vandaag. En
Very good.
See, you've got Eugene clapping. You've got Eugene clapping, so that's good. Both of you speak any of the local Ghanaian language?
I only speak Twi. Well, yeah, I speak the Asante language, which is Twi, but that's about it.
Oh, okay. What about you, Eugene?
I understand a little bit of Tree here and there. I wouldn't say I speak fluently, but anytime I go back to Montreal and hang out with my mom, I get to say my little 1-2 words here in church, really. Like just a couple words here and there, but nothing impressive.
So
I know
your dad
how
doesn't speak to you in. Okay, so you're telling me your dad doesn't speak to you in. Really?
No. We speak English
together.
We speak English together. Yeah.
Oh, English.
I have a conversation with him. I'll have a conversation with him afterwards. Don't worry about that. I'll worry about that. All right. So now, what are we doing? What are you guys doing in professional-wise? Eugene, what are you looking to do? Are you in college or?
I am currently a professional dance instructor. I'm a hip hop dance teacher in dance studios as well as the public and private school system. So I teach kids and adults how to dance and how to groove.
Oh.
So you're trying to tell me you know how to dance? Is that what it is?
That is my entire career, yes.
So you see, Christelle, these are the people that we, the adults, we take on the dance floor and we discipline them. You see, I don't know, maybe your dad doesn't know how to dance, but if you talk to me about dancing, you're going to be embarrassed. I can assure you that. You want to try it one of these days? I'll make a special trip. I'll make a special trip to Winnipeg to show you that we, the old folks, we know how to move. That'll take me up on that.
I have many dance floors ready for you. You just let me know when.
You see, he's shaking. He's shaking. He's scared of me already. He's scared of me.
I don't think that's okay.
What about you? So what do you do?
I'm a researcher at my university. So where I studied, I got a job as a researcher at the Department of Political Science.
Researcher as a political science. So what do you research? You just research a bunch of politicians and.
No, not at all. I'm actually doing research about the quality of education and the importance of diversity in academia, so in universities, and how it could actually sustain people of color. And yeah.
Good. As long as you're not researching Donald Trump, we're fine. Okay?
Oh, no.
Okay. I just want to make sure of that. So, talking city, what did it feel like coming of age in an environment that was, in Belgium? In your case, you probably didn't know the difference because you got there when you were 1. But Belgium is pretty Caucasian. So what did it feel like coming of age in Belgium?
Well, to be very honest, it was not always easy because just like Belgium is a very white country. And then the biggest problem that we have is you need to be very fluent in the language. If not, you will be easily seen as an outcast. So they often try to limit us, especially when you're Black. So yeah, I had challenges as in I would get different reports compared to my white students. I have suffered from, well, I haven't really suffered from, but I have experienced racism, discrimination, all of it, but then not as often, if I can say so. So, yeah.
Okay. So what form of racism? Did they tease you about your name or pronunciation of your name, your look, or what did they tease you about?
Well, mostly the color of your skin, but then in Belgium, they are not really people that are very outspoken, but just like the way they will look at you or the way that they would treat you differently than other people. That's how they express their forms of discrimination and racism. So it's basically about how you look like, the fact that you're different, or when I have my hair in an afro up to me, I say, oh, can I touch it? Oh, you look different.
Okay. let me switch. It looks like it's breaking a little bit, so let me try Eugene. Eugene, what do you feel like growing up in Montreal?
Yeah, no, it was extremely interesting because I mean, we in Canada we compare our levels of racism to the United States a lot, and we like to say that they are so much worse than us, and there's so many injustices in America. But in Canada, it exists. It's just more subtle, and it's more it's tied in a prettier bow. I was lucky enough to grow up in Montreal, where it was a very diverse community. Obviously, mostly white in Montreal with the French speaking population, but I went to a multicultural school and I was around different cultures all over the globe in the schools that I went to. So I was lucky to grow up around many different nationalities, including my own. So racism, obviously, it exists, and especially in Quebec, where they also feel like they are their own people, separate from Canada a little bit sometimes. But for me personally, I was lucky enough to grow up in a multicultural environment in Montreal.
Okay, there's a place there, Parc Mont Royal. Is
that... there is an area called Mont Royal. Yeah, Mont Royal. It's a mountain.
That's in Montreal, right? Huh?
Yes.
There's a mountain there where you stand on and you see. Oh, okay. You hang out there pretty often?
I did growing up. That was not too far away from a basketball court that I would frequent when I was growing up. So yeah, Mount Royal is this giant mountain that has a church on the top, and there's this massive cross, Jesus cross that overlooks the entire city. So yeah, it's an interesting place.
I mean, you guys did not have the latitude to compare parenting in Ghana and parents where you were at, but certainly you saw parenting in your home versus the homes of your friends. What are some of the differences that you saw? Christelle?
Well, I got very lucky because my dad is well integrated, I could say so, but at the same time, he's very cultural. So I would say the only difference, which was to my benefit, it was that he was very strict in the sense that we would study together and he would always push me to do my homework and do, above my peers. So I wouldn't really say that it was very different. The only way that I could say is that he would motivate me to be my best self, which I could see was not the case in most of the traditional Ghanaian or African families.
And when you visited your friend, did you see any difference in how your friends related with their parents? How your friends related with your parents? Go ahead.
There was more of a distance with them. I could see that there was more of a distance because me and my dad are very close, especially since my mom relocated back to Ghana when I was 14. So me and my dad have a very close bond. But then with the other people, I could see, or with my friends, for example, I could see that they couldn't go to their parents with the same issues that I could go to my dad with. So there was a lot of a distance and a lot of you have to respect me and you can only talk when I'm talking. The very strict traditional way of raising your child, and I didn't have that experience. I had a dad that was very open, very loving, and very kind. My best friend basically, and I could see that in some houses they don't really have that best friend relationship, unfortunately.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What about you? I mean, your dad's college professor. I can imagine he was just as strict with education.
Absolutely, yeah. And he wanted the best for us and expected the best for us, and we had to rise to the top of education because, again, in his mind as well as in reality, growing up, one thing that he always said was, as a Black man in Western civilization and society, you need that education to get ahead. You need that education. You need that. You need to be an intellectual in order to get ahead of these white people sometimes, So in order to, stake your place in society and really be amongst everybody else, you need to have your education. That was a huge priority in our household. As for the differences that I saw with growing up in an African household versus my friends of other cultures, specifically with my white friends, the biggest difference that I saw was just in how they communicated with their parents. and the ways that they communicate with their parents, right? I remember being at a friend's house and just shaking my head at the things that they were allowed to say to their parents, and the freedoms that they had on the language that they were using sometimes, right? And I would say to myself, if I ever said half of the things I'm saying right now, that would be the end of me, but to each their own.
Wow. So both of you are politically correct. You're being politically correct. Come on. Stories. I'm sure your parents did some stuff that are like, oh my goodness, I'm going to videotape this and put it on YouTube. I know, Christy, you did. I'm sure things like, look, I'm going to put this on YouTube. Talk about that.
I do remember a time where I'm not sure exactly how this went, but I think it was with my sister, where my sister had got into a fight with I think some boy at school or something. And it was the policy that whenever a fight happened, the school would have to call home and the parent would have to come to the school, right? So I remember my parents, arriving at the school, really thinking that there was a big scenario and a big situation, a big problem. And they said, oh, Harriet and or Eugene got into with some little boy somewhere. My parents would be like, why am I here? This is a complete waste of time with our lives, like, and just say, call me when there's actually a real problem. And they just left, right? So a lot of the scenarios and situations that schools here issues, they were not issues to my parents at all. They said, listen, call us when there's a fire or he got shot in the head or something, but not if there's a fight, So yeah.
Call us when the knives are drawn and some blood are flowing. That's when there's a real problem, right?
Exactly. But if you're telling me if you're telling me he just pushed some kid and that kid maybe fell back like 30 centimeters, don't bother calling me.
Yeah. I know. Crystal, what did your dad do that you secretly wish you could on YouTube to embarrass him?
But dad is a very calm man, so he didn't really ever step out of character. I think the only thing would be, but that's very minor, because I used to go to boarding school, and I used to tend to fight a lot, apparently. And I had a fight with this particular guy, and I came back home upset, and I told my dad, and then he went to the school, and then he told them that they should give me the permission to fight back. So he literally wanted to get a decree or something. He just wanted to state it to them that, they should allow me to fight, and then that they shouldn't call him or tell him that I'm fighting or this and that it's called self-defense. So defending yourself. But he kind of embarrassed me doing that. And it wasn't really fun going back to school the next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Man, you guys got very good, really great parents, because me, I have my children, their baby pictures on my phone, and at any moment notice I'm threatening to show them to their friends if they don't do what I ask them to do. But your dad did not do that, right?
Okay, so you're extreme. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Expecting money from your relations abroad. Have you ever been defrauded of your money remittance? Open an ADB account today. Send your name and your account number to your relations abroad. Ask them to use MoneyGram direct to account service and receive your money in your account in minutes. With MoneyGram direct to account service, there's no PIN code wahala. You can now access your money on all ATMs in Ghana or send it to any mobile money wallet using ADB mobile banking app or shortcode *767#. Visit our branches nationwide to conveniently receive your Western Union, MoneyGram, RIA, Unitylink, Transfast, and Express Money Transfers. Reach us on our Facebook, website, or call our hotline on 0302 210 210 for more information. ADB, truly agri and more.
Okay, so tell me about it, because look, They can't whip you now. Did they get whipping when they were growing up?
No.
Hello? Can you hear me? Crystal,
Yeah.
you've never been whipped before.
Um,
You have, right? What about you, Crystal?
Well, yeah, I have once, by my dad only once, because he doesn't believe in beating your child. But my mom, on the other hand, she was very loose in her hands, you know. So, yeah, that happened regularly when I was.
Okay. So let me guess. The one time that your dad whipped you, he went to the room to cry and then he apologized because he felt sorry for beating you. Is that what it is?
Yes, yes. Actually, that's very true. He cried. He cried that day because he couldn't believe what just happened. But it was my fault. So, yeah.
You see, look at Eugene. Eugene was just, what happened? What happened to you? What happened to you?
He has a story.
I like this will
What
become
did you do?
this will become a therapy session very quickly. No, I recall many instances of getting whooped for all kinds of reasons, or even for no reason. You know, one of that's just the culture to some degree. Like one of my favorite stories that my dad always tells, you know, conferences or meetings is back when he was growing up. You know, he'd be walking, you know, in the village, whatever, just minding his own business, and some stranger would just, you know, knock him upside the head, and then, you know, he would say, "What was that for?" And then the person would say, "Go home and tell your dad that I hit you across the head." And he said, "Okay." So he goes home and to complain, he said, "Oh, Dad, so some person in the street hit me across the head." And then the dad would hit him across the head again and said, "Whatever they hit you for, I'm sure you deserved it, so I'm gonna hit you again." Right? And that was the way that that was the way that we were raised as well, right? So it was like, you know, you bring home a terrible grade, you know, you make too much noise. It's open season for corporal punishment at any time, but you know, sometimes it has to happen. So
you guys got it easy. You guys got it easy. Look, you heard of the phrase, it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a child, right? You heard that phrase?
Yes.
Okay. So in what way is your community where you are now a village? Is it a village or everyone is by themselves?
Well, in Canada, it's very easy to feel by yourself. You know, it's especially again with the way, you know, it works here in the West or whatever, where everybody has their house and it's all separated by these perfect patches of grass, and you know, you must have your upkeep and you only interact on very small conversations. Hi, how's the weather? Oh, it's nice. Okay, and it's very small talk, you know, over here in the West, right? So, but growing up, we still had our functions. We still had, you know, Ghanaian community events, you know, whether it's socials or parties or birthdays, funerals, stuff like that. There was always an excuse and a reason to get together, and church as well, right? So it's much harder to create that community in Canada, but Ghanaians will congregate for any reason and any reason at all, right? So that way it made it easier growing up that we were always together. So.
What about funerals, Crystal?
Yes, there are many, unfortunately. But then in Belgium, but I think it's in Ghana as well, funerals have become like the new form of association, and by which I mean that it's kind of the place that we all connect and come back together and kind of grieve together, but then also fellowship together and socialize. So it's a very public and almost like a very now event whenever someone dies. Very sad, but then you know, that's a reality, I guess. So
how do you go to those funerals? Do you dress traditionally or Western?
Yes, I love my traditional African wear, but however, I don't often go to funerals, so I don't have my black yet. I do have my black and white and I have my red, but I don't have my black attire yet. So I just go to the shops here and just buy any dress that I can find.
And then you show up at the funeral in a Western outfit. Really?
Oh,
and they don't throw you out?
Yeah, it's not my fault. I try to make them, but whenever I come to Ghana, either my seamstress is in Kumasi, or she's busy, or I can't find the right material. So yeah, I've been trying.
Okay. After COVID-19, the very next funeral that you go, I am ordering you to show up in a traditional outfit. Is that a deal?
Yes, that's a good deal. That's a good deal.
Is it a promise? Okay.
Yes, I promise.
It's a promise.
Yes.
Eugene, you heard her, right? You heard her. What about you? Do you know how to do the cloth thing?
Sorry, say that again?
Do you know how to do the cloth thing, the one that you hoist on your shoulder?
No, I don't know how to do that. It looks really, really cool. I've always loved watching it. I always love seeing it. And my dad is now considered a chief in the community, so he has plenty. But I've not been taught how to do it, nor do I have one. No. But I will get it, and we will go. I'll go to a funeral together when we have the opportunity.
No, you know what? I'm making a list here. Almost every time you open your mouth, you're putting your dad in trouble. One, he speaks only English with you at home, and as a chief, he has not taught you how to throw on clothes. Is that what you're saying? Should I put that down as one of the things he's in trouble for?
Listen, I feel like I'm incriminating myself, and then I'll be beaten later on. So listen, let's just put this to bed right here, right now.
Oh my God!
Look at him. He's taking notes.
I'm taking notes. Yes. So now, here's the assignment. Crystal got her assignment. Her next funeral, she's gonna show up in a traditional outfit. Your next funeral, you're showing up in a clothes like that, and I want to see pictures.
For sure.
Pictures.
Yes, sir.
For sure.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Deal. Okay. So the next thing I got is both of you said. Well, Crystal talked about coming to Ghana twice a year. What about you? Do you come to Ghana, Eugene, often?
I have been once, and this is going to be more incriminating evidence, but I have been once when I was 9 or 10, so it was about 15 years ago-ish, 15, 16 years ago. So yeah, but when I was there, it was beautiful, and it was a great experience.
Crystal, you see what I'm doing? I'm writing the third thing.
Take notes, because this is bad. Take notes. This is 15 years ago. That's not acceptable.
Okay, just once. Mr. Michael Bafu, okay. I mean,
but in our defense, we have been talking plans to go. We have been talking about plans to go. So I want to put that out there.
Okay.
Now, plans don't count. Actual trips. We're talking about actual trips. Plans don't count. Okay, so your social. Tell me about your social circles. Your friends. More Africans, more Ghanaians, more whites. What type of people do you surround yourself with? Christine, why don't you take that one first?
Okay. Most of my friends, like my closest friends, are Ghanaian.
Okay.
However, when I think about school and uni, most of my friends were predominantly white. However, I'm not that close to them. So I would say that my social circle, my close circle, is very Ghanaian, very African. So yeah.
Why? Okay, why is that? There's got to be a reason for that, right? What's the reason?
If I can just say very bluntly, I don't really connect with a lot of white people. And also just because of the discrimination and racism, I think having your own social circle of people that look like you, think like you, talk like you, it just makes you feel more accepted and more comfortable, if that makes sense. But then when it comes to work and when I went to uni, I did associate myself with the white people, and they were amazing, and they were great friends, people that I still am in contact with, but I just didn't really feel comfortable around them. Yeah.
Okay, let me drill down a little bit, because I don't get the impression that your friends, your white friends at your age group, they don't discriminate. It's just that different people discriminate, and you feel like you're taking it out on them. Is that what it is?
Well, it's also just because there's just this big gap. Like in Belgium, it's just very visible. Whenever you go to school, you automatically have groups of all the blacks and then groups of all the white. So there's not a lot of connection or not a lot of socializing amongst the different groups. However, once in a while you can have you can associate with a white friend, but then as the years go, you just see that they carry a different mentality. Also, when it comes to religion, when it comes to certain cultural attitudes, they're just very different than me. And I hold my culture very highly. So I just cannot really connect with them to a certain level to call them my best friends or people that I would want to have in my life forever. However, there are some white people or friends even that I talk to, but it's just a very different relationship.
Would you, or have you ever dated a white guy before?
Wait, I cannot say never, but never. Never. When I was little, I don't think that counts. When I think I was 12, but that's just children's love. That's just you think you like a person, and it's not really real. Yeah.
Okay, Eugene, your social circles.
Yeah, back when I was in back when I was in university, my close circle was all African. Ghanaian, Nigerian, Cameroon, we were all there, and we almost refused to interact with any other cultures. We were there in the library and we made noise as Black people, and we were really proud of that, When I left university and I started to pursue dance as a career, I obviously quickly realized that the dance industry was dominated by white people, and meeting different types of people in that industry and creating a group of my own dance team, Boss, which is predominantly white people, because that's what the industry, that's the people that seek higher training in the dance industry just happen to be white people at times, right? We have people of color here in the dance industry in Winnipeg, but there are few and far between. I think I am one of 5 Black men that actually dance professionally here and perform professionally here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, right? So, but luckily, like I said, I am in hip hop culture, which is a very diverse culture and accepting of everybody and features everybody. So though my circles and my closest circles are predominantly white, I haven't experienced racism in hip hop culture because it just squashes that stuff out. But outside of it, whether it be with police or even back when I was in university with other cultures, it existed there. But in my close-knit circle of hip hop dance culture, I've been lucky enough that it's diverse enough that I don't experience.
Yeah, I was saying that now is a good time to tell us about that white girl you have a crush on.
Okay. Is there an actual question, or?
I think it's a question.
Yes, I have been with her for several years. Yes, I have been with her for several years, and we are moving forward. Yes.
Okay. We're moving forward. Okay. Well, hey, and by the way, your dad did not give me any secret. I'm just trying to know from you. So basically, in your social circles, are there any African youngsters who do not attend university? I mean, do you know any African who is not a university student?
I don't think we're even allowed to entertain that thought of not attending university after high school, So no, I have not come across a single African male, female individual in my lifetime that has not attended university in some way, shape, or form, or college, because it's just it's unheard of, and I think it goes against African customs. So
it's unheard of. That's interesting. What about, is that the same in Belgium?
No, unfortunately, we have a lot of youngsters that get discouraged by the teachers. Sorry, so some of them do not attend college or university or decide to work immediately right after high school.
What do you mean discouraged?
So basically, when you go to high school in Belgium, you get kind of like a general report on all your achievements and your academic excellence. And based on that report, you can either go to college or university, or they advise you not to. So we have a lot of Black people or people of color that are discouraged by the report that was written by the university, by their teacher in high school. So yeah, they then decide to not go to university because either they don't see the need, or they are discouraged, or they think that they won't make it because it's too, you have structural biases and structural inequalities that will block you in achieving academic excellence. So they rather withdraw. So yeah.
Interesting.
So do you personally know someone, African youngster, who did not go to university?
Yes, I know like a lot of, actually, because I'm also youth leader at my church. And I that got discouraged and decided not to go to university. And it's one of the biggest issues and discussions and debates in Belgium right now.
Okay. What are your views on Ghana? Let me start with you, Eugene. You've been here only once. Do you remember your time in Ghana, and what age were you?
Yeah, I was about 9 or 10 when I have, dispersed memories of them. What I mostly remember about them was their personalities, and at the time, because I was used to how I was living, obviously, in Canada, I was amazed at how early they woke up in the day. Like I was used to sleeping till at least 8, 9, 10 a.m. And to see that they were up, up and bustling at 5, 6 a.m., working or going to the market or something, that was amazing to me. And the fact that I could not continue to sleep because, they're like, I got up and do something, I was like, the sun is not really up yet. So that was my biggest shock, was how early things get started over there. And that's one of my biggest memories, and how enthusiastic they were to start that early, that I wasn't used to it.
Yeah, Crystal, when you come to Ghana, do you appreciate more because of the poverty that you see, like on the streets and stuff? How does that make you feel?
Obviously, I think it would make anyone very sad. However, I don't look at Ghana the way a Western person would look at Ghana. So in as much as there is poverty, I see a positive trend towards modernization. And I've seen a lot of positive changes in Ghana as well. Like, I honestly believe that Ghana is like the beacon of peace, and Africa is the beacon of modernization. And I believe that moving forward, there are structural things such as poverty that we need to tackle. But like I said, I don't look at Ghana from a Western lens. I look at Ghana from like literally a Ghanaian lens. So when I come to Ghana, it's not that I try to compare an European country next to Ghana. That's, I think, uncalled for. And I don't think that's a righteous way of looking at society. And that's my political stand view. So I don't want to make this too political, but yeah, that's how I look at Ghana.
No problem. No problem, because we're getting into the political scene. When you look at Ghana, what's your view on the direction that Ghana is going right now? I assume you keep up with news in Ghana, right?
Yes, I do. like I said, I see there's a very positive and progressive trend. I think my biggest issue with Ghana is the debate and the clash between NPP and NDC. I think that there is just too much focus on your commitment to a certain party, whereby citizens are not really looking at change, but just because they love a party or they are affiliated to a party, they can't really see beyond the mistakes of that party. Whenever it's time for elections, they don't really think about how do you want to see Ghana in 50 years. They mostly want to see, okay, what party will benefit me more, or I'm associated to this party, so let me just stick with them. It's just too much of the say and the name and the dates and the ridiculous clash between MPP and NDC are just unnecessary. And I think that if we can move past those clashes, that Ghana would have a much better chance on a very bright future. So I think it's very restrictive, and it's causing us to be very stagnant.
So is it a political leaders, or is it the people, the followers, the voters?
No, I don't even think it's the leaders itself.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't think it's the leaders. It's the leaders of the party. I believe it's like the people that are in between the leaders and the society. Those the MPs and the ones that that work for the party. I think it's those people that are the loudest. Those are the people that you hear the most on the radio stations as well. I don't often hear Mahama. I don't often hear our president speaking, but it's always the people that follow them, the people that make up the party, that are the ones that are making the most noise. And I just sometimes find it sad, because when you listen to some of the debates, it doesn't really have a lot of substance, or political substance. It's just, hatred, or it's a game or political game that they want to keep going because it generates votes. I don't know if that's a political tactic that they use in Ghana, but for me, I just see it as a waste of time. And like I said, us to be very stagnant, whilst we could have gone past it and actually made effective change. Because when you have a change in leadership all the time, what we see with MPP and NDC is whenever one comes to party, they leave the plans of the others to implement their own plans. So then we have plans that are implemented only halfway, and that's not a way to move forward, I believe.
Would you buy anything without first knowing exactly what the product was and how it could benefit you? Definitely not. Neither should you vote for your next member of parliament without knowing who they are and how they plan to solve your problems. Watch The Next MP only on Diaspora Network Television and find out the men and women who want to represent you in parliament. The Next MP only on DNT.
Good luck on Hello Entertainment Box.
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 Yeah.
Very good. It looks like as a researcher, your work had a lot to do with the response you gave. So let me go to Eugene and find out if his work influences the way he views Ghana in the entertainment scene. In Ghana, when I see a child on TV, it's always about dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, again, in the dance community, like my action with Ghana is through dance, through the entertainment industry, right? Azonto, took over this part of the world like you wouldn't believe, right? Yeah. Now, as a teacher, now I have to teach people how to do it because I want to know all the new dances coming out of Ghana, right? So that's just been really cool to see its reach towards Western culture and how these things that like I tell my students all the time, what these kids are creating and what these young adults are creating in Ghana is reaching across the globe. And the thing that kind of ties it all together, whether you're talking about the entertainment industry or politics, is passion, right? And it all depends on where that passion goes. Whether political parties want to use their passion to just yell at each other and almost have like a gang mentality when it comes to political debate. Are they passionate about helping the people and getting the people what they truly need to improve people's lives? And that passion can go one way or it can go the other way. And from what I've seen, whether we're reading the Ghanaian news here in Canada or dad yell on the phone 24 hours a day about political things in Ghana, it seems that passion goes more towards making sure the other political party is out of power or who's in power, as opposed to what is going to help the people and just Joe in the street. So passion that we have as Africans, specifically as Ghanaians, I would love to see it up to help the people as opposed to.
Okay, which do you keep up with the most? Politics in Ghana or you are?
I got to be honest with politics here in Canada and the US. And I keep up most politics in Canada and the US, to be perfectly honest with you. The little sparse details from Ghanaian functions about the happenings in Ghana. Personally, although I can't really say I understand much of the in and outs of Ghanaian politics, it's the same thread that I see through politics throughout the entire world, which is, whether it comes to corruption or who's in power, the next person yelling at each other in parliament. It doesn't really matter what country you go to, you'll see that through line of parties making promises, not keeping promises, or making their promise that. So whether you're following Ghana, Canada, US, you'll see the same through line of people who are passionate about things that might not help people on the ground. So I just see similarities all over the place.
I agree.
Okay, what about you, Crystal? Are you more into the political direction of Belgium or that of Ghana?
I would say, as a political scientist, I try to keep up with global politics, but I would say that it's quite equal. I spend as much time, Belgian politics as I do into Ghana politics. My father is also the chairman of NPP Belgium, so the radio is on 24/7. I hear nothing else but Ghana politics, so it's not really out of choice. It is, it's just something that is on in this house literally every single time, unfortunately. So yeah.
There's a lot of focus on Africa taking it to the next level. In a post-coronavirus world, there's been a sense of African doing for Africans, okay? Africans doing for Africans. And you guys are going to have a huge role in moving Africa to the next level. Should we count on you guys, or you guys all clued in Canada and in Belgium? In other words, can the continent count on you?
I would like to say yes. Unfortunately, from what I have experienced, it all depends if and what's the politically correct way of saying this, but forget it. If the generation before us will allow us to place at and have a seat at the table, a lot of times talking about that passion and to some degree, sometimes, even the political conservative mindset of trying to keep the status quo and keeping those that were in power for as long as possible. So these new voices, such as, the two of us here, coming up in our communities, wherever we are in the world, will we get a seat at the table? Will our opinions be valued and really taken seriously? Or will we forever be considered, the young people that don't know what we're talking about, right? So I believe we're ready. I believe we're informed and we're educated. It really depends on those that are past the seat at the table. And that's my honest opinion and what I've seen, unfortunately, not happen oftentimes. Even here in Winnipeg, we have.
Yeah, if the seat is available, would you sit on it though? Would you participate?
Oh, absolutely, right? Absolutely. And the same rule should apply, right? It's just like, finding the most informed and ready people to have a seat at the table and to have their opinions heard. But I mean, if the seat at the table is there, no, we're ready. We've been ready.
Yeah, born ready.
Okay. If that seat is going to be, Crystal, if that seat is going to be available, it's going to take you collaborating with folks your age group that are on the continent. How connected are you to folks in your age group on the continent?
In Ghana, you mean?
Yes, in Ghana or in
Yes.
other country in Africa.
Okay, let me say in Ghana, I have friends, because I go to Ghana very often. So, and I'm also a very social person. So I like to connect through social media. I think that's one of the most popular places where you can really connect with people all over the globe. When it comes to the Ghanaian youth in Belgium, I connect to them through different ways. First of all, like I said already, I'm a youth leader. So I'm from the Church of Pentecost, which is one of the biggest churches in Belgium. So it's a large network of young Ghanaians. So through the networks and through the national events that we organize, I've broadened out my network with even students that came from Ghana that came to study in Belgium that went back. Those are friends that I've made forever and people that I try to keep in contact with. So I think that's one of the best ways that I've been able to keep my network and continue to expand it, with people that have a vision just like me and are ready to do something about the problematics in Ghana.
Your life's partner, does he have to be Ghanaian or he can be from Tanzania or South Africa? That make a difference?
Well, I would prefer Ghanaian, but then whatever the Lord brings my way, I suppose. So yeah, just
Okay.
whatever God has for me. Yeah.
But your first preference would be Ghanaian.
Definitely Ghanaian.
All right, Eugene. You live in Canada. You grew up in Montreal, but Winnipeg is English speaking, right?
Yes, it is.
What's the dominant African community in Winnipeg?
Nigerian. Nigerian.
Nigerians.
Yeah.
Oh, so Nigerians outnumber Ghanaians, and all right. So the same question to you: if someone came along that you really, really like, would it matter if she's from a different country?
It doesn't matter to me, no.
Interesting. All right. So now let me bring you guys back home. Do you see yourself living on the continent, or you're very, very plugged in where you are?
I'd love to create a lifestyle where I go back and forth, right? That would be the goal for me, to be in a situation where, it'd be great to spend 6 months here, 6 months there, and get more acclimated as an adult now with the culture that I come from, right? Just because of the way my life has gone and where I was raised and where I was born and all this other stuff, right? As opposed to plugging myself there permanently, I'm not too sure. I mean, at the end of the day, like what you're used to is very right. So I think it would definitely take me several trips for lengthy periods of time in order to really have an educated answer on that. Yeah. Because as of right now, just the way my life has gone, I don't have enough information to be able to say, tomorrow I'm gonna go and that's that, So.
Yeah. What about you, Crystal?
I would love to move back to Ghana. Like I would love it. Like that's why I come to Ghana twice a year. There was even a period of time, I think that was a year ago, where I was, weighing the decision of moving now or waiting a little bit. I think I would just wait a bit, and whenever the situation is more favorable, and then I think that yes, I would make the decision to move back permanently.
Okay, good. Let's end it with COVID. What has COVID-19 taught you?
Wow.
The pandemic, what has it taught you?
For me personally, it has taught me that I need to work on my internal motivation. So I realized that for myself, I'm very motivated by external factors. I mean, when you're actually out there and you're able to create events and make plans, that's what motivates me, is when I can see the landscape, see what my community needs, and then go for it, right? And when you take that all away and I'm just at home, it's very hard to say, okay, yeah, let me create something or let me do something, when I really could just do nothing and be very happy with that, right? So I've definitely learned that I lack a level of internal motivation.
I mean,
I also learned our resilience as a human race to stay connected, right? At the end of the day, humans, whether we like it or not, we are social creatures and we thrive on being close in that connection, right? So the fact that we can't meet personally, but we're doing things like this, and everybody's on Zoom now or some kind of sharing platform for video calls, like that's just amazing. That no matter what, we will find a way to annoy each other way or another, So that's just very good, and that's what I've learned.
I mean, if we all have to stay at home, you're in trouble because you got to dance for people to see. Or do you do video stuff?
I have done a couple video dance classes, but I'm telling you, man, they're so weird because again, it's the feedback, it's the energy. So I'm sitting there just like right now, I'm in front of the camera and I'm like, all right, everyone, let's do it again, and nobody's answering me. There's a very big possibility that somebody is watching this or watching me on the camera and just watching and not doing the clap all, like so that gets in my head and it just kind of feels weird. So I don't do it very often, but when I do, I'll tell you, I feel extremely strange the entire time that somebody's probably just watching and going, oh yeah, have fun, and then they move on with their lives, So yeah.
Good. Crystal, lessons from COVID.
I think one of the biggest lesson is keeping in touch with family. I think one of my biggest struggles before COVID-19, I think we as human beings, we get too comfortable, especially when you live a very busy life. But I think the Spirit has given me a lot of perspective. I've been able to do a lot of self-reflection, and I just think the importance of family, the importance of communication and socialization is actually something that we as human people, we need and we crave. So yeah, one of the lessons is to stay connected and also to stay true to myself and to stay productive, even though it might seem as if nothing is really going on, being aware of the fact that life is actually still moving on, and this is not some kind of resting period or vacation or moment to chillax, but this is really the moment to give it your all and build new habits and, get to know yourself again.
Are you guys concerned that it is future forever?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know how far we want to go down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole or whatever, because we could do that for the rest of the day. But yeah. I personally do believe that there is a fact and powers that be that will make the decision on whether and when we decide to get our lives back, so to say. So if this is the new normal, I just, there's just too many things right now that just seems suspicious to me, but that's that's my take, right? Like I again, if this is be our new normal, and then as human beings we will adapt because we are adaptive creatures, right? So we'll see.
Yeah. Crystal, are you concerned?
Well, the only concern I have is that life will never be the same. But then I don't know if I'm taking it a bit too far. I think, yeah, this is just a very weird period. And I do believe that the power does not really lie within our hands. So we're just kind of hoping and praying that the people in leadership make the decisions and make this as easy as possible for us. But yeah, for me, not that I'm trying to be pessimistic, but then I just know that nothing will be the same ever again. Like this is, this has been crazy. That life will be
All right.
a lot of
now,
work.
I want to thank you guys for showing up, for hanging with me this evening. I want your closing argument to be an advice to an African leader, and it can be anyone, any country, Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia. What is on your mind that if you got an African leader in a room, you'll be able to tell them, and you would love to tell them? Start with you, Crystal.
Wow. Well, as a political scientist, you just gave me the biggest life, and I'm not ready. But what I would say is let the youth speak, let the generation that is rising up speak, and give them a seat at the table, give them a voice, give them something to say, because I do believe that the generation that is coming up is a generation that is very intellectual, that's very smart, but at the same time will also be vocal. And we do not want a revolution to start. So by giving them a platform and by giving them the right to speak, I think we can make our progressive again, or more progressive.
Okay, very good. What about you, Eugene, your advisor to president?
Yeah, I mean, if I was giving advice, I would start off by asking the question, what is it you're passionate about, right? I would love to know what it is they're passionate about and how they feel their passions are helping the people or the young people or the older generation. What is it that their passion is leading them towards, and how do their actions reflect that? That's what I would want to know before I would even give advice, right? I want to know how we are going to help the people. I want to know how we are going to move our community, our society, our culture into the 21st century, into the 22nd century, moving it forward instead of bickering about things that happened, in the 40s or 50s, instead of having countless conversations about old dear Raleigh every single day. How are we going to move forward and achieve these goals and these things that we want for our children and our grandchildren, right? So can we redirect our passions towards our future as opposed to our unfortunate past or things that just do not matter to the upcoming generation? So redirecting our passion.
Redirecting our passion. Thank you guys so much. What I would say to you in appreciation to you showing up and hanging out with me at DNT is this. When we were growing up at your age, right? If you wanted to speak to someone from Ghana to United States, you went to the post office and stood in line, and when it came your turn, you got on the phone, and the phone call was like scratchy. I mean, you could barely get a word in. These days, you guys live in a completely different world. You can pick up the phone and call someone anywhere in the world, okay? I want to entreat you to take advantage of that and build connections on the continent, all right? The continent is moving in a direction where users from all countries are putting it together. In Houston, where I live, all of them together, and you could barely tell if this one's from Liberia or this one is from Ivory Coast. That is the beauty that you guys have that you really need to take full advantage of, because Africa needs you. Africa is going to go forward. It is the next frontier. Everybody's coming here, and you guys, all of you are university grads, okay? You've built up resources, you've built up certain knowledge Africa needs. You live with people of other cultures, and so nobody intimidates you. People who, some of people your age group that have lived only on the continent, they don't have that kind of exposure, so they don't know people very well. So they want you to be the bridge between them and the rest of the world. So the message that I want to leave you with is that build connections. build friends on the continent. These days, it takes a WhatsApp message, it takes Facebook, but build those continents, because we are all going to be working together as one to move the continent forward. Those of us in this age group will be here, we'll be lucky to be here another 20 years. But you guys, the future is yours, and the future is Africa. So I want you to start thinking in that direction and build connections with folks on the continent. Okay? Thank you for coming in. Focus on the second generation. This is Diaspora Weekly, and I want to thank you so much for spending your time with me. Okay?
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
All right. Don't be strangers, okay? We'll connect.
Sure.
You're on my WhatsApp group, so you're hearing from me. Okay?
Excellent.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Y'all take care.
Good night, Chris.
Good day.
Bye.